This is the Steak Takes podcast. Every week we give our takes on Chicago sports and steak. Alongside Camden Kirchgessner, I'm Ford McDonald. Coming up in today's episode, we discuss the Bears' big win yesterday and the Cubs' potential trades for a star player, as well as our steak take of the day. Camden, the people have spoken. Charlie Coffey's off the show. Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
I'm so excited for it. For it, I cannot tell you how excited I am that he is gone. It's like the old ball and chain is the saying they use when something's weighing you down. And it's just it's good to feel free.
Nicely put. Nicely put.
Hmm.
Anyways, in all seriousness, Charlie Coffey is out of town right now, so
Yeah, he's
he
just
will
out
be
there.
back with us for episode 3. But for now, we're gonna just film a quick little episode for our second ever episode, and we're just gonna get right started into it. So let's talk about the Bears' win against the Commanders on Thursday.
Yeah, it was a really good win. I was watching it. When I was watching it, I was very emotional. There were so many times when we took a big lead early, right? And I was very happy seeing the team in the first half. If we could have that team the whole 4 quarters, that'd be great. Um, but then we go into the second half and suddenly we're not scoring anymore. And I'm getting flashbacks to last week when the Broncos came
Exactly.
out of nowhere and killed us. And I was just very frightened. It was I was getting nervous. I was getting nervous, but Fields was able to deliver the ball to DJ Moore in that final drive and seal the game with that touchdown. And I think it was just a phenomenal game by Fields. No big turnovers that really hurt the team. DJ Moore had a great game. Ran for like, or not ran, received for like 230 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's
Yeah.
crazy stats. O-line looks great when Tevin was there. It's good to have Tevin Jenkins back, our lineman who was on injury reserve for so long. And Larry Borum, the backup left tackle, he performed very well against Chase Young, who is a pretty good edge rusher. So our O-line looked great. Our receiver looked great. Justin Fields looked great.
Yeah, and for me, what it looked like to me, it looked like to me like a team that literally had like talk about being on the hot seat. Those guys had their backs like to the wall. I mean, they hadn't won a game in 14 games. The announcer said it on the broadcast. They came out aggressive, firing, and I was again like you. I was very impressed with Justin Fields. When Cody Whitehair had to come in for as the new center, I mean, how many times, Cam, did this guy throw a high snap or a low snap at his feet? And Justin luckily was able to like, corral all of those balls, which is just crazy because, um, I just thought that like they need to figure that out if Cody's gonna be the center for the next couple games here. So, but I was very impressed, and yeah,
I think it's a real testament to Justin Fields' athleticism that he was able to turn. I know there's one particular where the whole O line crumpled because it was and Fields barely caught it by the tip of his fingers over his head, and he turned it into a
yes,
first down, which was a crazy big play and a crazy important part of the game. And I think it's just there was it was tough yesterday because Cody Whitehair was coming in for an injured Lucas Patrick, and there was a lot of injuries all over the whole field. I don't think we had a single
oh,
starting member
we
of the
had
secondary besides Jaquan Brisker. Not a single one. It was horrible.
yeah, and
They're all dying out there.
wasn't Jaquan Brisker also questionable coming into the game as well? I thought I might have seen something on social media
He is,
about.
but he's always questionable. He's made it
Okay,
well. He's
yeah,
a great
I
player. He's
got it.
just he's just a little bit injury prone.
Yeah, but Eddie Jackson gone,
Yeah.
man,
Hmm. Jalen
good
Johnson
stuff.
Jones. I forget. There's two
Uh,
Jalen J
Jalen
on the team.
Johnson,
I
number
confuse them.
31, yeah.
33, 33. Yes.
So, man,
Hmm.
but great job by the Bears there. Um, Cam, I'd be interested in hearing your take on this now. I mean, kind of our first episode, a lot of it was centered around Caleb Williams, moving on from Justin Fields, moving on from Eberflus. Now that we've had two, obviously the first game was a heartbreaker, but in the first half we saw Justin Fields and wow, we saw him really go off. And then obviously yesterday's game, was a great showing. So I'd be interested in hearing, your take now on what the Bears' next move is. Do they go for the two early stage picks in the next 2024 NFL draft, or what the next move is?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because it's definitely something I have an opinion on. Last week, I was not speaking too favorably of the coaches, if I'm being honest. And I think this week, Luke Getzky proved me wrong. He proved that he can learn and he proved that he can adjust.
Yeah,
He dropped 40 points on a, albeit not very good Washington Commanders defense, but they're still a good defense. Like, that's still an NFL level defense, and it's still 40 points. And I think
yeah,
Eberflus showed some development with only allowing 20 points with a very beat up defensive
yeah.
back like
Calling the
secondary.
defensive plays.
Yeah, and I think that Justin Fields should, if he plays like that for the rest of the season, then there's absolutely no reason we should draft Caleb Williams.
I
And
agree.
if he's playing like that the rest of the season, there's no way we have that pick. The only feasible scenario is where the Panthers' first round pick that we traded for last spring becomes Caleb Williams. In that scenario, I think we either traded away for a similar package that gave us DJ Moore last year, or we draft Marvin Harrison Jr. or one of those really good tackles, Joe Alt or Aluf Fashunu. I'm not saying that right, but I think those are some blue chip players that'll be worth the first overall pick. So I don't, if we keep playing like this the rest of the season, I don't think we do a regime change again. I like where we're at. I think they're showing some
Yeah.
development.
I think the thing with Fields is just the kid needs some experience in winning a football game and
Right.
finishing a football game. I mean, how is he gonna win? I mean, this guy, if they can stack some wins up here going down the stretch this season, I think, I mean, it's his third season, right? I think that he's going to just get more and more experience of that winning mentality, and I think that that'll really be something good for the guy because if you don't have an experience in winning, I mean, you're just not gonna get it done. So
Mm-hmm. But he showed that he can learn tonight, and that's what's most important. Or not tonight,
exactly.
last night. But anyways,
Yes.
Ford, moving on from the Bears, I had a question for you about the Cubs. It was obviously a
Yeah.
disappointing end of the season. And I think where do you think the team turns in the trade market to try and get better?
Well, one big thing that we've heard so far, which is just funny to me. I mean, tough loss, and already a week after this loss, we're already excited about the off season, what trades are gonna happen. But here we go. On 670 The Score, Bruce Levine said that the Cubs are going to do everything that they can do to trade for Pete Alonso. And Camden, this guy is a first baseman on the New York Mets. He is a home run hitter. That is his thing. He's a consistent 40 plus home run hitter a season, per season. And the crazy thing that I've seen is that the Cubs have not had a 40 plus run home run season by a player since 2005, a guy named Derek Lee, which is literally when we were born. So, again, Chris Bryant hit 39, so there you go. You have that in 2016, obviously. Schwarber also got it close, but yes, they have not had a 40 plus guy. And then probably after that, it was probably the next guy was Sammy Sosa. So, I think that the Cubs have power, but they don't have consistent power. I feel like guys on their team, like Cody Bellinger and say Suzuki, they got great power in them, but sometimes that comes and goes. So I believe that Pete Alonso would be a great addition, and I have heard rumors that Pete Alonso would very much like to be a Chicago Cub next season. So what it's going to come down to, Cam, is just going to be the trade negotiations between the two presidents of baseball operations. I mean, the Mets coming from their side. If they don't have a good, if they don't get a good deal, a good enough deal from the Cubbies, they're probably sadly just gonna hang on to him for now until the trade deadline next season. But we're gonna see. I think it looks great for now, and I think that the Cubs are seriously. They already have a great lineup, but obviously he'd be a great addition, a great consistency of power for that lineup.
Yeah, I think the Cubs will be lucky to have him. I think he'd be a great addition to the team. Just hopefully we can get it to happen. All right, Ford, moving
Uh,
on to another big player, big impactful player for Chicago sports. I know neither of us are hockey guys, but
No.
when you hear the name Connor Bedard, does that make you want to become a hockey guy? Because it kind of makes me want to be a hockey guy. Just knowing about
Yeah,
this
you
guy.
know what? I've seen the highlights of this guy in the preseason games so far this season, and man, this kid, he is special, and he's providing a needed, light for Chicago sports fans this time of year. But you know what? I think it looks great. Again, like you said, we're not big hockey guys, but he's certainly a guy that might turn that around for me. So I love what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like an electric player, a fun player to watch, and you know, I'm more of a fast-paced sports kind of guy. Hockey is a fantastic sport, just not one of those.
It
I'm a
is
football guy. Most people wouldn't consider this a fast-paced sport, but things are happening. Golf guy. I'm a basketball guy.
basketball.
Not really not super into soccer, not super into hockey, but I think that he's one of those players that, really draws in your attention. And I think he's has the talent to make an impact on this new Blackhawks team. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. Uh,
Me
I'm looking
too.
forward to
Can't
seeing
wait
him
for
in
the
action.
season to start.
hmm Now, before we get into our steak take, I just had another question for you. Now, this is a bit off the outline, so I'm just curious how you'll respond to this. But
Love it.
what is your favorite sport to watch, and why is that?
Yeah, great question, and I know my exact answer. It's basketball, but it's more specifically March Madness basketball, Cam. I cannot wait for March Madness to come around so we can talk about it on this show and show off our brackets and stuff. But yeah, March Madness basketball, so high paced. A lot of one of the really things I like about it is that you can tell that these college guys are giving it their all, and in the NBA, I don't see that sometimes. I see that in the playoffs, but in the regular season of NBA, I don't usually watch just because I just find it a little slow. Seems like the guys are not giving it their all, but March Madness is just, especially those first 2 days, for me, those are like my favorite 2 days of school ever because it's just like everybody's watching the games. There's usually a couple, huge plays. The Furman upset. I think we were in religion class last spring, and that was awesome. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember.
my favorite is March Madness by a mile, man. How
Yeah,
about you?
that's I like that. I know I agree with you totally. College is fun to watch because they care more. For me,
Yeah,
it's definitely professional football. Much more so this offseason. I've gotten really into the Chicago Bears this past year. Follow them a lot more than I normally do. But I've always been a football guy, and it probably goes back to my family. My family's they've always been huge into football. They're all huge Detroit Lions fans. And
yeah,
whenever they'd watch those games, it'd be very intense. But as you probably know, the Lions have not been very good. So they were doing a lot of pain and suffering that comes with watching a bad Lions team be bad, right? This year they're good, so that's good.
yeah.
I'm actually
Looks
I'm a
bright
Lions
in
fan myself.
Detroit.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a Lions fan myself, but Bears come first, but second comes the Lions, which is weird with the division, but. So I'd say it's family has been very into football, and I've just enjoyed watching football. So yeah, that's kind of what I have to say.
Yeah, and I know Charlie's not here, so we can't go into our Sizzling Sunday picks. But
Oh yeah, we forgot to do that.
would you like to give our picks? I mean, they probably won't count for this week, but would you want to give them for this week, or
Sure.
what do
I
you
think
think?
what games are we thinking? Were we thinking maybe
Yeah, so I was thinking
maybe
Cowboys Niners,
okay.
big mano y mano clash there, and
Juggernaut and
then
Juggernaut.
yeah, and then we got Bengals and Cardinals and Packers and Raiders. So do you want to go over those?
Yeah. Oof. I think first of all, I think Niners probably take the dub over the Cowboys. Cowboys haven't looked great. Niners have looked great. I think they're a team that showed consistency in everything but the postseason. So this is regular season. I think they roll the Cowboys. The Cowboys are always a team that's kind of second best. They're never the top dog. I think they maybe going into like week 3, I might have my opinion might be different. But with Trevon Diggs out for the year, they're kind of and they haven't looked great against the Cardinals. I forget who they played last week, but they didn't look great either. Oh no, they smoked the Patriots. What am I saying? They looked great. But still the
Yeah.
49ers are not the Patriots. So I
Oh
think the
yeah.
49ers take it.
Yeah, I
For
agree with you. I agree with
Bengals,
you.
sorry.
I
Oh no.
I
Oh
I agree
no.
with you. How about Brock Purdy, man? So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
he's
take the 49ers as well. I think they look great, 4-0.
all right. Bengals, Cardinals. I know a certain Bengals fan friend of mine is gonna hate this, but I gotta take the Cardinals. And here's
Really?
why. Here's why. I think the Cardinals are phenomenally coached. Which is crazy because the roster is not good. It's not the best in the NFL.
Important
And I
part. Look
think
at
they're
the
a hungry
Bears.
team. And I think the Bengals they haven't shown any signs of getting better. Burrow's hurt. And I don't know. I could see the Cardinals upsetting it. So what do you think?
You know what? I'm actually gonna take the Bengals on this one. I agree with you. The Cardinals do look great. Obviously, big upset on the Cowboys a couple weeks back. That was great. But I kind of see a parallel here with the Bengals this week as well as the Bears. Um, the Bengals they've kind of hit rock bottom. I'm not gonna lie. So I think that this is a game that they absolutely need against a mediocre Cardinals team to turn their season around. I mean, Joe Burrow, after signing the biggest contract of all time, comes out and the Bengals have a bad start to the season. So I think this is a game where their backs against the wall, and I think that they're gonna turn it around. So
Yeah, fair enough. What was the last game? Packers Raiders.
Packers Raiders, yeah.
As much as I hate to say it, Packers. It's just they're just a better team. Vegas is just they're not good. They're not coached very well. They have solid players, but with Aiden O'Connell our quarterback, I don't know what you're doing. And I think that the Packers defense is really solid, and there's not a lot you can knock against that. Jordan Love's a bit, bit mid, if you will. Um, I think he's a great guy, great player, but he's just not. I don't know if he's fantastic. Um, he still put up okay numbers.
Hmm.
But I see the rest of that really solid team carrying them to the dub there in Las Vegas. So
Yeah. So good stuff. I'm gonna take the Packers. Gonna go along with you there. I agree with what you said. I don't think there's much more to be said on that game. But I think the Packers are just overall the better team. So
all right,
yes,
into the
sir.
steak take. All right, Ford.
Steak
I think
cake.
today's steak takes. I think we're gonna do our favorite steak experience story. Or
Sure.
just not our favorite, a steak experience that you think is a good story to share.
Yeah, I'd love to. Um, you know what? I'm actually just gonna go with. I was in the city earlier today, and we went to Bistronomic, I think it's pronounced, in the city, and I got I believe the dish was called My Mother's Steak Frites or whatever, and it was great. I had honestly, I hadn't really had steak frites before. I got medium rare.
Oh,
Um,
steak. I was actually gonna talk about steak treats. Dude,
it
steak treats are so good.
it was great. And it was a truffle. No, not a truffle. It was or yes, it was. It was a truffle and red wine reduction on top. It paired well, and there was also some fries on the top. So I thought it was a great experience, and
Mhm.
that's all I got.
Yeah, the steak frites is so good, man. So on I put steak frites in my top five like combo meals ever all time. I love steak frites.
Wow.
I was actually gonna talk about steak frites, but I'll talk about something different because I don't want to just do the same
Oh,
thing.
that's all right. Let's hear a steak free story.
Okay, so I it was at this random hotel in Florida. It was a nice hotel, and I'm at the pool, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna get some steak frites. I think that sounds really good. And oh boy, Ford, when you think about a really good rich steak, when you think about getting a steak for the sake of the steak being very good, and you're willing to splurge for that steak, because steaks aren't cheap, right? They're they're
No.
they're not they're pricey meat, but they're really worth it. Um, and a steak frites definitely it's not cheap, but it's certainly not the price of like a ribeye in a steakhouse, right? So you wouldn't expect it to be as good, but man, when I tell you these steak frites were that good, they were that good. So it's for those not familiar with what a steak frite is, if you live under a rock, it's skirt steak. usually in a sort of sauce or like a chimichurri or something on top with a side of fries, usually like truffle fries, which are really good. And it's I think these steak frites particular were I had chimichurri on them. Man, they were so good. So like perfect like texture, perfect taste. They're so I could have died
Right.
and gone to heaven right there. Eating those steak frites. They were that good.
Yeah, and it was a tough decision making my pick tonight because another thing that I saw on the menu was it was bacon wrapped pork chops, man. Bacon wrapped.
Wow.
But at the end of the day, my uncle made the pick of the pork chops, and when his came and when mine came, I was like, oh, I made the right decision because the pork chop it wasn't when I saw that on the menu, I was expecting a pork chop covered in bacon, and that was not
Hmm.
what it was. It was like kind of it wasn't wrapped. That's all I'll say. It wasn't wrapped. So it was a tough decision, but I made the right decision,
Hmm.
and hopefully the Bears make the right
We'll make the
decision
right
to
decision.
keep Justin Fields.
And thank you for our
So
listeners for making the right decision to tune in this week. We really appreciate it.
yes, exactly. And yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. Um, let's see. So thank you for listening to another episode on the Steak Takes Podcast. Thanks especially to our sizzlers, and you can become a sizzler by tuning into the show each and every week. Please support the show on your preferred audio platform and subscribe and leave us a like on YouTube. Feel free to reach out to us about anything by sending us a message on Instagram or Twitter. From Ford, Cam, and
And the
not
ghost of
Charlie,
Charlie. The ghost of
and the
Charlie.
ghost of Charlie Christmas Past, we will see you next week.
Miss you, Charlie. Come back soon. Thanks for tuning in, guys.